and Pris, those are fucking brutal killings. You know, he shoots Zora a few times in the back, but he looks physically ill and like shaken up afterwards. You know, it really took its toll on him. I think it's been about 20 years since I've actually seen the theatrical cut, which is a funny story. But I believe that is one of the lines in the narration where he says he quit because he had had enough of the killing. And you kind of infer that with his reaction after he kills Zora, but also in his dialogue with Bryant in the beginning when he says, "Hey, I was quit, you know, when I walked in. I'm even more quit now," because he just doesn't want to get back into that mess. You know, he doesn't want to have to go back and do what he used to do, because that's obviously affected him. Even then, where it's obviously affected him, when he has that first interaction with Rachel, you know, he says, "Hey, you know," when they're talking about the replicants, he's like, "You know, it's like any machine, and you know, if it's a benefit, then it's not my problem." So it's kind of like, "Hey, you know, I do what I do because that's my job, and I'm supposed to kill replicants. That's why I do it." But it obviously is something that he does not want to be doing. And even after he kills Zora, you know, he has that conversation with Brian out on the street, and Brian says, "Oh, you know, you've got like 4 more out there." And he says, "No, just 3." And Brian says, "No, like Rachel escaped from the Tyrell Corporation. You know, now you have to hunt her down too." He obviously does not want any part of that.
What are your thoughts on the theory of Deckard being a replicant himself? Do you think that's true now, having seen 2049?
No, because he's old in 2049. So he obviously wasn't a replicant. I guess there's still some theories that he could be, and he was just a super advanced one, kind of like Rachel was. But no, I never bought that he was a replicant. I think the whole point of the movie is him, you know, is like Roy Batty and him kind of being on opposite ends and then kind of passing each other. If Deckard's a replicant, he's hunting down his own kind, which is a theme that gets played out in 2049 because Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, is obviously a replicant, paid to hunt down other replicants.
But how come at least in the original, everybody, all the replicants seem to have this thing with their eyes where that gives them away. You know,
yeah.
Rachel has it. Was it Pris?
Leon has it in the very beginning when he's taking the Voight-Comp test.
Yeah, but Deckard,
and even the owl in Tyrell's office has it.
Yeah, but so you know, unless, like you said, he was just some more advanced one, but Deckard never has. There's no really any clues besides the fact that Edward James Olmos, at the end of the film, it seems like knows Deckard's dreams, which would mean that, you know, was Deckard's dreams implanted, and I feel like that's where the theory comes, like what is. But I felt like the ambiguity there is there for a reason, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I always thought that he was human, and here's from my notes, because there's strong opinions on both sides, but for me personally, I always thought that he was human.
Okay.
And that the unicorn represented something that was kind of like outside. You know, everyone. It was better worded somewhere else when I was doing the research, but it was like kind of the unicorn was a representation of divinity.
Hmm.
Not necessarily a dream, an implant. It was kind of like everyone recognized, you know, that there was something much bigger than them. And that's why Gaff left the unicorn. Here's from my notes, okay? The novel clearly states that Deckard is a human. The film suggests that Deckard himself is a replicant, thus asking the audience to reevaluate what it means to be human. The debate over Deckard's true nature has been ongoing since the film's release, Both producer Michael Dealey and Harrison Ford believe him to be human, while Hampton Fancher has preferred to keep that answer ambiguous. Ridley Scott has stated that he is a replicant. Like I said, that kind of blows up his theory with 2049, as usual. Supporters obviously point to the unicorn dream and that the origami left in the apartment by Gaff at the end suggests that Gaff knows his dreams. But everyone cites the ambiguity of the question, and that's one of the main themes of the film, is kind of what makes us human, or what, how do we determine humanity? So, personally, he's a human for me. What's your answer? Did we get into what you really thought?
Yeah, I mean, as many times as I've seen this, I never thought about him being a replicant until reading further into it. I never picked up on that narrative as that was, the filmmaker's intention. So yeah, I think that he was, and especially now seeing 2049 and him, them explaining what happened to Rachel and that they were able to have a kid, but that he's still alive so far down the line.
Yeah.
How, even if he was advanced, how advanced could he have been, at that point?
Well, I mean, Rachel was advanced. She had a child, but she also died shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I think giving birth, I believe.
The date? It was like 2021, right?
Yes. So
it's, that means that Deckard is super advanced, and he's lived, 35 years at least? Because there's a 30-year gap between this and 2049. He's obviously been around for a while before the start of this film. So all the replicants had that 4-year lifespan. So that would make him a really advanced replicant, and I don't think that the evidence is there to support that he is.
The only thing that I could think of is that they're pointing at more of like a miracle-based thing where, a replicant in Rachel was able to have a baby, which was, they referenced that in 2049 as everybody thought that was impossible. So, is that what they're trying to lean towards as far as him keeping himself alive, even though he's isolated himself out there, where Kay ends up finding him? Like, is he just kind of basically refusing to die? I don't know.
I think I definitely agree that the ambiguity works for it, but I think 2049 kind of blows the theory that he's a replicant out of the water.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And
blows up that theory.
Yeah. Also, while we're on the subject, 2049 is such a goddamn good companion piece to this.
I 100% agree. I know it has detractors. I think people don't like it because it's a bit more action-based, which I think is weird because it's almost a 3-hour movie. There isn't a lot of action in it. I think that, again, that movie plays very well with kind of what does it mean to be human. Mm-hmm. Kay has this arc where he believes himself to be real at one point because of the implanted memories, which is something that gets brought up in this with Rachel being so advanced because she actually has implanted memories. So she doesn't know that she's a replicant at the start. But I think that's a great arc for Kay in 2049, is him going through that, thinking that, I'm real, I'm not a synthetic, and then him finding out that no, he is. But at the end, it's him finding his humanity, even though he's not, and making a sacrifice for someone.
Going back to the Tyrell motto, the more human than human.
Yes. You're right. Fantastic companion piece. I think it's a masterpiece as well. Let's get into some pre-production stuff.
All right.
Because I found a lot of fascinating shit doing the research. Blew my mind. Do you know what other director was like really interested in making a movie?
Scorsese.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, like that's insane. And then like early Scorsese too.
Yeah.
Like probably pre-Mean Street Scorsese. Never optioned the novel, but I was like, whoa, that's insane. I don't think he's ever made anything like remotely sci-fi. And I would love to see him make a sci-fi movie. Another thing that blew my mind is Ridley Scott was coming off of Alien, declined to direct this. Do you know why he declined it at first?
I don't think so.
He was planning on working on a version of Dune.
Oh, that's right. And it was too slow pace for him, so he stepped off, right?
Yeah, the production was just going really slowly, and he left it in, I think, like late 79, like right after Alien had been released, or early 1980, and jumped into this because the producers had brought it to him, and he declined because he was working on Dune, or a version of Dune, and I'm wondering if that is that what would end up becoming the David Lynch movie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I think I'd read that Dune, there were several directors that were trying to do it before him, and then it ended up kind of in Lynch's lap. So it's probably that same one. That's
nuts. Imagine a world where Ridley Scott did a version of Dune in like the early 80s.
I think it worked out for him to do to jump to Blade Runner, because look at how sought after this picture is as to where, at least the first Dune movie is not great.
It's not great. Not great, Bob. Yeah, that's obviously this worked out well for Ridley Scott to do that 1-2 punch of Alien and Blade Runner and not do a shitty version of Dune. Which, by all means probably could have been better if, there was the special effects at the time. Also, Dune is a long book, and trying to cram it into like 2 hours is not going to work, as David Lynch found out the hard way.
Are you excited for the new cast of the Dune Part 2?
Yeah. I'm super excited. Even for Christopher Walken.
Yeah, Christopher Walken, Florence Pugh.
The dude is playing Elvis.
Oh, Butler or something?
Austin Butler, right?
Are you going to see, veering off for a second here, are you interested in seeing Elvis?
God, no. It looks fucking ridiculous.
Are you an Elvis fan, like the real Elvis?
Meh.
No?
Kind of. I kind of got a lot of that through osmosis through my mom, because my mom was a huge fan.
Oh, that's right. You've told me that, yeah.
But I've always kind of been, he had some good stuff. He had some stuff where I'm just like, whatever. But, like, I would much rather watch a documentary instead of a shitty Baz Luhrmann, like 3-hour, like, flashy opus with Tom Hanks in a really bad fat suit.
You can just watch that HBO 2-part documentary.
Yeah, I'd much rather watch that.
Or listen to Public Enemy. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're not offending me. I don't care. I would argue that they're probably right. We've established Hampton Fancher as the ones who originally adapt the novel. He focuses on a lot of the environmental issues, which they don't really get into in the film. They do get into kind of like a lot of animals are extinct. They do kind of touch on that a bit. And then like Zora with the snake, when he asks, hey, is that real?
Yeah.
And she says, if I could afford a real one, I wouldn't be in a place like this. Scott wanted the film to center more on the prominent themes of humanity and religion, and then asked Fancher to incorporate more of that into a rewrite. But their visions were kind of clashing, and Fancher's rewrite was a bit slow going, so that's how David Peebles got hired onto it. David Peebles, by the way,